Cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic, cake on the mic. People, this the intro.
Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down. Bear down.
The Chicago Bears have released their initial 53-man roster. Let's go through it and see who was waived, and let's see who actually made the team for the Chicago Bears. But before we do that, I want to share a tweet with you guys from Brad Biggs of the Chicago Tribune. He said this: how much turnover have the Bears had? 11 players remain on the roster that were with their organization when GM Ryan Poles was hired. What he means by that is 11 players are left from the Ryan Pace era. Kudos to GM Ryan Poles coming in here, breaking everything down and creating a new era in Chicago. We all understood that it was going to happen, but officially Ryan Poles has created the football team and his vision of what he wants Chicago Bears to look like. So first things first, Bears fans, let's go over the list of players that were waived. Looking at the list of the following players that were waived by the Chicago Bears in order for them to get to that initial 53-man roster, some names that really kind of surprised me was Travis Bell, defensive tackle, the rookie that they picked just this year. I thought he had a real good chance to actually make the roster, but I think he will definitely be a key candidate to come back on the 16-man practice squad as well. Another guy that really kind of popped out to me that didn't make the 53-man roster but should definitely come back on the 16-man practice squad if he makes it past waivers is Michael Walker, the linebacker that they picked up from the Atlanta Falcons. I thought he was a solid addition. I know that he has starting experience. The guy has all the qualities that you want in a very solid linebacker, so I thought he had a really good opportunity to make the 53-man roster. But I think what kind of killed him is that he came late during the offseason, during the final preseason games. So I think that kind of hurt his chances, but he should also be a key candidate to come back on the 16-man practice squad. And then obviously the huge news on this list of players that were waived was Trevis Gipson and Kindle Vildor were both waived by the Chicago Bears. And I don't think that Kindle Vildor is that much of a surprise, Bears fans. I know that for most part, he was pretty mediocre in terms of what he was able to offer the Chicago Bears. There were times where he really flashed, but never really was a great corner for our Chicago Bears defense. And overall, he really didn't offer much to the Chicago Bears football team. When you look at a guy like Trevis Gipson during the final game against the Buffalo Bills, report came out that he requested a trade from the Chicago Bears. Obviously Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears maybe tried to find a trade partner. At this point, they're like, you know what? Let's go ahead and waive a guy like Trevis Gipson. When I look at a guy like Trevis Gipson, I would have loved to have him on the 53-man roster, but he didn't want to be a Chicago Bear. So Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears had to make a quick business decision, and that decision was to actually waive Trevis Gipson. I wish him nothing but the best. He should find another team very quickly because I still feel like he has a lot to offer in the National Football League. But other than that, when I look at the list of waived players, I think they're all pretty much expected moves by the Chicago Bears in order for them to reach their 53-man limit. I think a lot of these players will be key candidates to come back on the 16-man practice squad. So I'm looking forward to see what players actually make that practice squad for the Chicago Bears in the next couple of days. Bears fans, before I go any further with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, what was your initial reaction, or was there any surprise players that got cut that you think that would have made the 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears? Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, Bears fans, let's take a look at who made the initial Chicago Bears 53-man roster. I do also want to note that right now the roster is set at 52 players because they're still waiting for Dan Feeney to pass his physical, the guy they just traded for from the Miami Dolphins. So once he passes his physical, it will set the roster up at 53 players. But let's look at each position group and let's see who actually made the initial 53-man roster. Starting off with the quarterback position, Tyson Bagent, the Cinderella story, the undrafted free agent, beat out PJ Walker. He beat out Nathan Peterman, and he will be backing up Justin Fields for this season for the Chicago Bears. What a story. I'm really happy for Tyson. He worked his ass off this offseason, during the preseason, during training camp, and really turned heads during this whole process. So I think he was the obvious choice to be QB2 here in Chicago. So once again, congratulations to Tyson Bagent, and hopefully it leads to much more success on this Chicago Bears roster. Moving on to the running backs, as expected, we have Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert, Travis Homer, and Roschon Johnson. Like I said before, I am really excited about this running back room for the Chicago Bears. We have four guys to me that are pretty good running backs, and they all do different things. When you look at a guy like Travis Homer, he is going to contribute not only as a running back on this offense, he's also going to be a key impact player as a special teamer as well. But when you look at guys like Deontay Foreman, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon Johnson, you have a three-headed monster on the Chicago Bears offense that's going to really help take the load off guys like Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense. No surprise here, the Chicago Bears also kept fullback Kareem Blasingame. He just recently signed a 2-year extension to come back to the Chicago Bears. I think fullback is a very important piece to any football team. It surprises me when teams don't have a fullback, but I really love what Kareem Blasingame brings to the Chicago Bears offense, and I'm really glad that he is still on the 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears. Looking at the receiver room for Chicago Bears, they end up keeping 6 receivers. We have Chase Claypool, Velus Jones Jr., Darnell Mooney, DJ Moore, Equanimeous St. Brown, and Tyler Scott. These were the expected players that I thought would make the 53-man roster. And I think it's a lot better of a wide receiver room than last year. We talked a lot about this right here on Geek on the Mic. Really excited to see what this group of receivers does, not only for Justin Fields, but the Chicago Bears offense, starting off with DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, and Darnell Mooney being the top 3 guys for Justin Fields. I think the receiver room is going to be electric for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears offense, and I'm excited to watch this group work this season. Looking at the tight end room for the Chicago Bears, as expected, they kept 3 tight ends with Cole Kmet, Marcellus Lewis, and Robert Tonyan. I'm really excited for Cole Kmet and his evolution as a tight end in the NFL. He's only continuing to get better in the National Football League, and his connection with Justin Fields continues to grow. Obviously, Marcellus Lewis brings excellent blocking and excellent veteran leadership to this young Chicago Bears football team. Then you have a guy like Robert Tonyan, a guy that's familiar with the Luke Getsy offense, a guy that's going to really stretch the field and be that vertical threat tight end for Justin Fields. Look for Robert Tonyan, Cole Kmet, and Marcellus Lewis to all have huge years for the Chicago Bears offense. Really looking forward to see what this tight end room does this season. Now moving on to the Chicago Bears trenches, starting off with the offensive line. They kept 9 offensive linemen with Larry Borom, Ja'Tyre Carter, Nate Davis, Tevin Jenkins, Braxton Jones, Doug Kramer, Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, and Darnell Right. And then you also have to add Dan Feeney in there as well once he passes his physical. I'm very pleased with the Chicago Bears offensive line. I think it's going to be an improved unit for the Chicago Bears than it was last year. And I think it can't be any worse than last year. Last year's offensive line for the Chicago Bears was absolutely putrid. I feel like Ryan Poles has done enough, and you still have to consider that we're still number 1 on the waiver wire. Trades can still happen, so there's still going to be moves made prior to that Week 1 matchup against the Green Bay Packers that can not only make the team better, but the offensive line better. So keep a lookout for Ryan Poles to continue to make moves, especially on this offensive line. But as it stands right now, once everyone is actually healthy, I think we have a solid starting 5 for Justin Fields. I don't think he will be running for his life this year like he was last year. So it should be positive results with an improved offensive line, hopefully starting Week 1 against the Green Bay Packers. But the 9 guys or the 10 guys that we have on the roster right now in terms of offensive linemen, I'm very pleased with, and I'm excited to see them play this season. Now moving on to the other side of the ball, Bears fans with the defensive line, they kept 9 defensive linemen in Andrew Billings, Javon Dexter Sr., Rasheem Green, Justin Jones, Terrell Lewis, which was a training camp and preseason standout, Yannick Ngakoue, Zach Pickens, Dominique Robinson, and DeMarcus Walker. Much like the offensive line, I feel like the defensive line is much improved from last year. I don't expect Jaquan Brisker at the strong safety position to be leading this team in sacks this season. I think it's going to be a lot better of a defensive line. I think they're going to get after the quarterback a whole lot better, continue to pressure the quarterback a whole lot better than last year. And I think it starts with a guy like Yannick Ngakoue, but look out for guys like Dominique Robinson, look out for guys like Terrell Lewis to get after the quarterback as well. This is going to be an improved unit, and it starts with the defensive line. So I'm looking forward to seeing this defensive line work this season for the Chicago Bears defense. The Chicago Bears kept 5 linebackers on the roster, starting out with Dylan Cole, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn, and Noah Sewell. This is one of the stronger units on the Chicago Bears roster, and it starts with Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. I'm really excited to watch this unit work. I think if the defensive line is improved, it's only going to make the linebackers and cornerbacks a whole lot better. So I'm really looking forward to see these linebackers work this season. The Chicago Bears kept 6 cornerbacks with Josh Blackwell, Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Jones, Terrell Smith, and Tyreek Stevenson. So once again, I'm really looking forward to the cornerbacks and this entire secondary. Once again, going back to the defensive line, if I feel like the defensive line is going to have a better season, which I think they will be improved from last year, it's going to help the secondary and especially the cornerback room. As it looks right now, I think it's going to be Jalen Johnson as cornerback 1, and I think Tyrique Stevenson has done enough to earn the cornerback 2 job for the Chicago Bears defense. But overall, this is a unit that is ready to go. They're ready to work. They're ready to prove themselves, and they're ready to go out there and prove everyone wrong. So they have a lot of swagger. They have a lot of confidence in themselves. And that's going to go a long way this season in trying to improve this Chicago Bears defense. When you look at the safeties, Chicago Bears kept 4 safeties in Jaquan Brisker, Elijah Hicks, Eddie Jackson, and A.J. Thomas. Once again, Jaquan Brisker and Eddie Jackson are absolute dogs. Really excited to see them back on the football field this season. Elijah Hicks is not only a good depth piece in the safety room, but he's also one of the special teams aces on the Chicago Bears football team. And then A.J. Thomas as well is going to be a key contributor on the special teams as well. Overall, a really strong safety room for the Chicago Bears defense this season. And last but not least, we have our specialists here on the initial 53-man roster with Trenton Gill, Cairo Santos, and Patrick Scales. Not much to discuss there. Really looking forward to see these 3 guys work. And obviously, like I said in the last episode of Geek on the Mic, is that these guys have the most fun on the Chicago Bears football team. But overall, Bears fans, this is the initial 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears. As I mentioned earlier in this episode of Geek on the Mic, things can still change. The Ryan Poles and Chicago Bears still have the #1 priority on the waiver wire. So Ryan Poles can get any player he wants that was recently cut while teams were getting ready for their 53-man roster cut down. So they'll have first priority there. They can still make trades. They can still sign players. So I feel like this is far from a finished product. I think Ryan Poles could continue to add to the Chicago Bears roster in order to make sure it's the best roster it can be leading up to that week 1 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. But overall, Bears fans, we are one step closer to Chicago Bears football. In 2 short weeks, we are going to be at home at Soldier Field against our hated rival in the Green Bay Packers, and I can absolutely not wait for that to come. But before I let you guys go, let me ask you guys this. What is your initial reaction to the 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears? Let me know down below in the comment section. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for our all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You've been listening to Geek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.